Hello, welcome to the Daily Loop. Right, let's get on with it. So, transfer bids. Oh, 4. Okay, wow. So, I think this is the guy it felt like we recently bought. We haven't even used him yet. We were waiting for his training option to get the MR position. I think he got that 1 or 2 days ago, and then we were waiting for just to find some time really to play some matches. But then also it was the case that holding off to add that position. Maybe we find someone else and whatever, deal with it from there. So this guy, it's good that he's gone up quite a bit in value because we have been playing him loads. He's got some good options, which would be why that's the case. And then also, he's going to end up with a decent rank and hopefully continue to progress well and has quite a high ceiling and blah blah blah. There's a lot of reasons why this is good that it's gone up, and a lot of reasons we could continue that. We could sort of think at the moment that it will continue to rise. So this guy, again, just got a bid. So clearly this guy's value went from like 190 something to this, so it's clearly going down at this point, which isn't surprising because he's not particularly great. His training options weren't good at all, and he's 28. So, and this guy, he did start the first 8 youth matches and hasn't played at all since then. And we got a bit of so this is what we were saying when we added that DM. So quite a ways back, during the training options, we had one where we could choose to add the DMC, and I don't think it was better than the other one. The other one was maybe a little bit better for the attributes, but we said on that video at the time that it might be better to add DMC because it might lead to getting a better transfer bid, because his attributes on the whole, looking across the board, are better suited to DMC than to DC. So in particular, I guess let's look at the tackling isolation. Like, that's really, really, really bad for a DC, but it's only really bad for a DMC. So it's not as much. And then the passing is another one, like, that matters more for a DMC than DC. The long shots isn't particularly that important for either, but it is more important for DMCs. So a lot of his, and again, like the flare, not particularly important for either, but it is more important for DMCs. So there's quite a few attributes here anyway. So this is just to sort of illustrate by example that it has led to his value more than, obviously it's small amounts here, and I think we will just sell him. I don't even think he's selected. He might be on the bench, to be honest. Actually, no, so he's not even on the bench or anything, so he's the one that's left out of the whole rotation. So let's just sell him at this point. There's no point really holding out for anything more than that. Right, and then I think that was it. Unfortunately, there are quite a few players we're waiting for 1-4, but these two not. Unfortunately, we have bought some players that we are looking to sell, but these two aren't them. So, right, moving on. Go to scouter players and sort by position. Right. Yep, pretty good or whatever, but just we're trying to move away from a 28-year-old keeper on those wages. So this guy, again, just not quite where we'd want him to be at that age. Don't use fullback. Not high enough tackling. Just not quite at where he needs to be for that age for us. A lot of these ones where I'm saying that type of thing, like, we could conceivably be buying some of these players like this if money mattered less to us, but right now it just matters loads. So, like, it might be better just to get the player that you could get better or whatever, but just to round out our youth team properly and to allow them to compete properly. But right now the senior team is the priority. Right, too old. He's okay, but just a bit old. Wages are too high for what we're looking for, but his issues are more to do with that than the attributes. Just too old, too high wage. Too old, too high wage. Right, so this guy isn't too old. The tackling is a bit low, but other stuff to some degree makes up for it. Like the speed and the aerial ability is good, but I think we're just going to pass because we've already got other fast DC. Whilst it's always nicer that they are faster, it's more important for us at this stage that if we pick up another DC, that they can do something that other ones can't. And I think our other ones are a bit weak, for example, in marking, and this guy's like super weak in marking. And I don't think we don't really want any DC. Yeah, I don't think it's quite there. Just this stuff is nice. If we didn't have any other fast DCs, but we had all our other ones were great at marking and tackling, this would be a guy that we might consider. Not good enough and too expensive for us. I mean, this is a sort of like another example of a guy that we might just buy to round out our youth team if money didn't matter, to be honest, because he's kind of like, whilst you could argue that, you know, all sorts of things about how great he isn't, like at the end of the day, you know, speed's good enough, aerial ability's good enough, and then got good tackling, and then the composure as well, and positioning, you know, marking could be better or whatever, but at the end of the day, clearly this guy's he's just way better than any 16 or 17 year old is ever going to be. Those players might be better by the time they're 20 or whatever, but like, we can't hold everything off into, you know, X months into the future, or we're going to end up with needing to get someplace for now. So this is just another example of a player that if money mattered less and we did need a DC, that we probably would just buy this guy, because he would likely just get thrown into the starting team and would likely just improve it. Having said that, this season doesn't really matter, and next season he'll be 21, so he'd only be in the youth team for one season. And then I think also, having said that, you know, we've got multiple DC selected for our academy trialists. We've got one already that we bought that's part of our senior team, so it's probably just about one of the least most important positions for our youth team at the moment as well. So on all of those bases, we're gonna give a pass. We don't use right backs, but you know, he's alright. Not high enough tackling. Fine again, but just don't use right back. So, and yet another one that's just fine, but we don't use right back. They're probably like the same sort of deal as these other guys, that they probably wouldn't quite be good enough anyway. Except if they were 20 and they could play in the youth team next season, and you use right backs, and money didn't matter, and you needed a right back, then maybe. Don't use left wing back. Don't use right wing back. Don't use right wing back. Don't use right wing back. Just not good enough. Too old. Too old. Maybe good enough, but too old. Just not good enough. Not high. No, tackling is too low for us. Tackling, yeah, it's not quite there. Like, it's really slow, and then other stuff just isn't high enough at all. He's just not good enough, basically. Yeah, I don't know. Kanamanara a bit. He's not quite there at all, and he's just expensive, basically. He's not quite there. He's quite well rounded, though, I have to say. And we're sort of looking for more box-to-box type players. So he does tick boxes here. Like, for example, he's got a good combination of speed and work rate for that. Like, his endurance and natural fitness is low, so he'd only be able to come off the bench, but he's probably only good enough to generally come off the bench anyway. The passing and vision is on the low side. The long shots is fine. The finishing composure combination in the box is not great, but like, it could be worse. It's okay. The tackling is fine. Dribbling, like, a lot of this stuff is okay. We can certainly expect to develop up a better MC over time, but anyway, I think the big the thing here is just too expensive, so it's not even a conversation really. Tackling too low. Don't use left winger. Don't use left winger. Don't use left wingers. And left winger. Right, AMCs. This AMC really is the one where we kind of desperately need something that's awesome. So, too old, too high wage. I think just not good enough. got something. He's got some stuff going on, but on the whole, it's not good enough. Too old. But probably otherwise is pretty close to what we would be looking for, actually, to be honest. Pretty close. He's pretty close to, I mean, not perfect, obviously, but the thing is, you're never going to find perfect here, especially not for the type of money we'd ever be working with. So, he's pretty close. But the thing is, he just doesn't fit. He's just too old. The wages in this particular case, though, like, it is the case. It is the most important position for our team without setup at the moment. And if we find a guy like this, we could continue with that. But if we fail to find this guy, we may have to change our team so that it isn't the case that it's the most important player. In particular, like, the finishing and composure combination is fine. It's good enough. Particularly, like, this guy doesn't typically have super close range finishes. They typically are from, like, a lot of the inside the box shots are not, like, the finishing matters more than the composure. Unlike for some strikers, the composure could matter more than the finishing. The long shots is a bit on the low side, but again, good enough. The passing is a bit low, but good enough, and the vision is great, and the strength and speed and the dribbling could ideally be higher. There's a lot of stuff, but on the whole, like, good for what we need. Not good enough. Yeah, just not good enough. Don't use right wingers. Too old. Just not quite where he needs to be for that age. Just that finishing composure is just really bad. I mean, he's okay, and there could be a conversation if we didn't already have other strikers that we were happy with that are younger. Right, this guy just not quite good enough. Not where he needs. Maybe he's 16. Sorry, on minimum wages. Let's just reconsider a bit. I think he's probably already had all his training boosts, has he? Yeah, so he's effectively 16 plus a whole round of training boosts. So he's definitely not as good as a striker that we passed up on already in the academy trials. I think we'll pass, but we need to wait to get our graduates to sort of know what spaces need filling before being able to consider guys like this. And then this guy, again, like, he's fine, he's pretty good actually, but we just don't need a striker in particular. And so, right, we know that there are no training options, so let's move on to the academy trialists. And this is one where, after being happy to stick with the guys that we had for quite a number of days, we are now looking to move out this guy potentially, and I think was it? We don't necessarily need both of these DCs. Would be happy to go with have them both if it transpires that way, but we don't need both. We've already, but yeah. Anyway, this striker we don't really want to roll with, and this keeper already had it all. But this guy, I think at this point, the one-on-ones come up. We're just waiting for these attributes to reveal to make a decision between the two, but we won't go with both. For now, though, if we did have to clear one out, I think we would just probably clear out this guy if we had to do it now, but we probably won't, because we're happy to move that guy out. We'd happy to move then this striker out, and then one of the DC. So there's basically 4 players at this point we're looking to move out. It's quite a few. So this guy pretty good, but we don't use left back. Like, this guy's really good to be popping up this late. Like, he's got the speed good enough, the tackling, the marking excellent, the positioning excellent. He's fine, but yeah, but it's a shame we just won't use left back. So moving on. This guy, yeah, just not quite there. The finishing composure just leaves him as needing to be like that serviceable if he's got great physicals and other stuff, but he's just not fast, like not a target man, and not fast enough to drift into channels and stuff. Plus, we don't know either is dribbling or crossing yet. I think just not as good as our other keepers that we were on. One determination is quite off-putting here, and then the 10 tackling. I think we'll pass on that basis. Yeah, just again not as good as the keepers. He's decent though, I've got to say. We care about the shot stopping a lot, so that might let him down here. Anyway, we got two others that are better. Moving on. We don't use left winger. This guy. God, that's such a high average. 39 when you consider he's got a 1 and a 3, and it's still coming out at 39. Determination a bit low. Speed is low, and we need these up and back type midfielders. Sorry about that. Had to cough for a second. Sorry, yeah, I've just ended up with quite the cough after. I think I recovered from COVID fine, but I've got quite the cough for quite a few days after it. Right, anyway, moving on. This DMC, yeah, just not enough tackling. I think the passing is just too low, and other stuff is low as well. Yet another one with 1 determination. This guy, yeah, just not as good as the other keepers. This guy, just too low finishing, too low passing, tackling, all sorts of stuff. This guy, just too low. We don't use right back, so he's just not good enough. Right, this 15 finishing, okay, that's just not good enough. Okay, so 56 finishing, 60 long shots, and 51 composure. 1 aerial ability, and the passing and vision is really low, and he's not lightning fast. Basically, this guy ends up being absolutely nothing but a poacher. So we would care, and then for that, the control we would care about a bit more than normal, and the movement we would care about a bit more, quite a bit more. So there's still stuff to come. And then this guy, he's got a good speed, endurance. Like, these physicals are great. Obviously not. I think this guy is probably better than the one that we've got at the moment. I think this guy can't get up and back, basically, so it doesn't matter. He's just not there. I think this guy is better, so let's just swap them out. I'm not that happy with this guy either, to be honest, because his passing is a bit low. His vision will come up though. Determination is not like we would rather a higher, but whatever. He's still. Then I think the other question now is still just comparing this striker. I think this other guy. The thing is, problem with this guy is he can't really become anything much. He's not fast enough to drift into channels and to not be a goal scorer. His goal scoring is not great enough to be a goal scorer, which kind of leaves him as wanting to be like a target man type role, and the aerial ability is just not good enough for that, and the strength isn't. So I don't think this guy can become anything, whereas at least this guy can become a poacher. He potentially could if the control and the movement ends up really high. So we'll go with that guy. So yeah, so we've sorted that out. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you for the next one.